All right.
No, I went to the front.
Brad Sham with Bryan Houston on 99.3 Talk FM. Mr. Sham, you've done this now for how many years?
What, Mr.?
Yeah, I
What
know.
is that? What's all that?
Hey, I'm getting my digs in right now while I can. I got to show respect here. 34 years, is that what you told me?
This is my 34th season, 33rd training camp.
What's the difference now between what you're dealing with now and what you did when you first started?
Goodness gracious. Well, everything's different. I mean, in a negative way, the access to the players is much more limited than it was in the middle 70s and through the 70s and through the 80s. But that's a reflection of some of the changes in the world. Obviously, the football aspect of it is different because that was, they were in pads 2-a-days for 6 weeks. And they have 90 players now. They used to have 90 free agent rookies. There was no salary cap. The money for the players was completely different. What has not changed is the public's appetite for the Dallas Cowboys, wherever they are, whether it's training camp in California, whether it's in San Antonio, Austin, or Wichita Falls, wherever they are, the attitude of the public is that we want some Cowboys, and then when we're done with them, we want some more Cowboys. That's good when you have my job.
So you haven't noticed any kind of a fall off in the fervor for the Cowboys during this drought that's gone on?
No, there's more impatience. I believe that fans, it's my belief that fans everywhere, all over the country, have an attitude of entitlement that their team, whether it's the Red Sox or the Seahawks or the Cowboys, owes them a championship. And I don't believe that. I buy a lot of tickets to sporting events. And for my money, what I want is the team that I'm supporting to play hard and smart and be competitive. I would like them to win more than they lose. But I want my money's worth from effort and intelligence. There's no guarantee of a win. Only one team lifts the trophy at the end of the year. Can't be the same team every year. So people say, well, you haven't won 16, 17 years. Right, and they've won 5 and been in 8 Super Bowls. I tell people all the time, I am, as much as I love the Rangers, and I do, I'm a Cub fan. Now, I'm a 62-year-old, fixing to be 63-year-old Cub fan. And my team has not played in a World Series in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. Forget about winning it. I'm not in it for the winning. I'm in it for the entertainment. Does your team entertain you? Do they cheat you for the price of the ticket? If they entertain you and they're giving you honest, full effort, then that's all I think that fans have a right to expect. And so they're impatient. They want more winning, but they don't care any less because it's been 17 years or whatever it's been.
As many years as you've done this, and I asked Gil Brandt about this, when you come out and you watch a practice now, what are you looking for? What do you see that the average fan that's screaming and yelling for Dez or Tony are seeing?
Well, basically, I'm not any smarter than anybody else. Gil is, but the difference is that they're watching Dez and Tony, and I'm watching them too. But I have to care who is playing in the third offensive line 2 weeks from last Monday in Oakland. And this is where the football team gets built. So I want to know before they get to special teams in games, which is going to be the difference maker for a lot of kids, I want to know what do they see. So Caleb McSurdy's interesting to me. A lot of these young wide receivers are interesting to me. Right now, they're going to have 2 or 3 young cornerbacks. Well, who are those going to be? The safeties. And so you have the opportunity that we don't have in the regular season when we have these media badges to stand, 50 feet or less away from a drill and hear what the coaching points are and see what it is that players are doing individually at different positions. So I go around all over. I like to watch all the positions, and helps me get to know the coaches and what they expect, and it helps me get to know what the players are doing.
When I've talked to people and they talk about newcomers who might make a huge difference with the Cowboys, I hear Bill Callahan's name as much as I do players. What is he going to bring to the mix?
Well, he's one of the best line coaches in the league. They had a terrific one in Hudson Houck. Bill's got a different approach, and sometimes that's good. You know, sometimes just a little different voice, a little change of scenery is a good thing. And they have to be more physical in the offensive line. They have to run the ball. And he's got a kind of a history of being pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what he brings. Plus, obviously the guy's been a successful head coach. He's been successful all up and down the coaching ranks at every level. So that's nothing but a plus.
Should we read anything to it that Felix came in and failed the physical? Is that a big deal?
Well, it's not good. He's got time to erase that, and he's clearly integral in their plans, but I don't think it's good that he came in and couldn't pass a running test. Look, Felix is a guy with enormous ability. He's made some great, exciting plays. He's also never played 16 games. He's never gotten through a season healthy. So he's got to prove he can do that. And I think he's got a chance to be really, really productive in a support role behind DeMarco Murray and catching the ball and returning kicks and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's not good news that he showed up and couldn't pass the running test. It's also not the end of the world.
But what about the other two guys? Could they be looking at losing a roster spot because of this?
Well, yes. And I think Poole is probably on the thinnest ice. They really like Andre Holmes. He's a young player. I would say that they think, when I say they, there are a number of people in the administration, a number of other players. If you ask them, who should I watch, he's ready to step forward. So it's hurting him, it's hurting the team, and it's a disappointment that he's not on the field for these first couple of days. But he, I think, has learned a valuable lesson. He's his second year from Hillsdale College, for crying out loud. I think he's learned a valuable lesson. Felix and Brodney Poole, you would think, would have a little bit less of an excuse, a little bit less slack to cut them.
I know you talked to Craig Smoke and Rashad, and they were giving me a hard time. We had fistfights over Dez Bryant last week, and they told me that the next time I had something to say about Dez Bryant, I should call you. Chastise me however you'd like. I respect your opinion greatly. I was very critical of him, as a lot of people have been. And then Jerry comes out today and says, I'm so pissed at him I can't even talk to him right now. How should I feel about Dez Bryant right now?
Well, I don't like the word should.
Okay.
But my opinion is that people who want to rush to a judgment about the incident that happened a couple of weeks ago, first of all, none of us knows exactly what happened. Second of all, none of this, by the way, is an excuse. You can't do what he did. In all my years, I don't think I could name you 5 other guys who have a worse upbringing and background than him. Now, they knew all that, and that doesn't mean that he gets to play by a different set of rules. But it does mean, I think, that it's fair to evaluate him a little differently in some of the decisions that he makes. So the question is not what decisions is he making, but how fast is his learning curve accelerating? And if you know the history of his family, I would say it's unlikely that he was just driving down the street and said, you know what I think I'll do? I think I'll go to my mother's house and slap her. That's not very likely to me. Right. There's a lot that happened that we don't know about. But as a society, we are real good at judging. And we're really good at making snap judgments. And I think that's a mistake. I think no player on their roster was hurt more by the lockout than him. Because what he has an absence of is structure. He doesn't know how to live like a grown-up. And some of that's his fault, but not all of it. Now, he is going to be accountable for it now. But I think that Jimmy Robinson, the position coach has an approach that is tough and greatly will benefit Dez. In the offseason last year, Jimmy couldn't talk to him. They had player programs in place that could have helped him. That whole North Park pants sagging thing, we'd have never heard about that if there hadn't been a lockout. It probably would have never happened. Yeah. That's not an excuse, but it's a fact. So I think I'm going to reserve my kind of decision-making on whether I think he's worth the investment and going forward until the end of this year. I want to see what happens this year because I think we'll tell this year if he's going to be able to fulfill the investment.
Were you this reasoned and reasonable 34 years ago?
No, I wasn't this reasoned and reasonable 10 years ago, and I hope that 10 years from now I'm more reasoned and reasonable. Life teaches us a lot of things, and that's really my point about Dez. I've changed myself more in the last 7 to 10 years than I did in the first 50 years of my life. And so we're expecting a certain set of behavior from a 23-year-old without giving any consideration to what his environment and what shaped him. So here's what I think about Dez. I think he cares. I know this. I know he's not a thug. This is not a bad kid. This is not a drug kid. I was on a show in Cleveland the other day, and the guy said, Dez, he said, he got arrested again. I said, hold on a minute. What do you mean again? When's he been arrested before? This is not a guy with a police record. It's a guy with a history of bad decisions. But this is not a thug. This is a good kid at heart who wants to do the right thing, and football matters to him, and he wants to do well. He just doesn't know how. Now, that's a lot to take on, and you can make a perfectly reasonable argument that it's something they shouldn't have taken on. But that's moot now because they did. And so the question is, what are they going to do with it? And I think that it's way too early to close the book on him.
I'm going to let you eat your chili now.
Okay.
It should be cool enough.
Yeah, I think it will be now. But
thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it. Absolutely, Byron. You're welcome.
Thank you.